Georgia Governor Brian Kemp assailed the Biden administration and Washington Democrats over inflation during a Thursday press conference. While Republicans have squarely blamed Democratic policies for rising costs, Democrats have shifted the blame to supply chain issues from the pandemic or Russia's war on Ukraine. He name-checked Stacey Abrams multiple times during the briefing. Kemp will face Stacey Abrams in the midterms in a rematch of the 2018 election. After eviscerating the Inflation Reduction Act, Kemp touted Georgia's, quote, record budget surplus and offered proposals to help his state combat inflation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here today, and I'm proud to be here with Governor Kemp and Speaker Ralston on another historic day. Under this governor, we've had a lot of great news that's come out of here almost on a weekly basis now. And today is no different than what we've had, and it's a great day for Georgians, considering what they're going through, the needless inflation that is going on because of the current administration that is pushing down things where we have seen a 40-year high inflation. We've seen historic gas hikes as well as historic pricing in the grocery industry as well. And it's good to have a governor who's been leading by example, leading our state into a better economic times than what we're seeing around the country. In fact, Georgia has been the envy of most states because of the good leadership that Governor Kemp and the General Assembly has provided throughout the last 2 years of this downturn in our economy. And I just want to thank them for their leadership. And I can tell you right now, leadership matters, elections matter. And we wouldn't be talking right now as a state about a $5 billion surplus if it wasn't for Governor Kemp's leadership through the pandemic, when a lot of people from both sides were taking shots. He had the best interests of Georgians on his mind. And he decided to keep our state open, keep our schools open, keep our churches open. And because of that, we're not like Michigan or California or New York right now, where they're struggling to find ways to pay for things. Our current administration, our current opponent on the Abrams ticket has been talking about what they're going to do with the $5 billion surplus that we have right now if they were elected. Well, I can tell you right now, we wouldn't have a $5 billion surplus if it wasn't for Governor Kemp and his leadership and Speaker Ralston and his steady hand in the House. And I think that needs to be recognized by not just the people here in the room, but people all over the state as well. And I think Georgians, as I crisscross the state, I think Georgians do recognize it, and they're excited about re-electing our fine governor. But you know, the governor can't always do it by himself. He's got to have a good supporting cast, and he has that in the General Assembly, particularly in the steady hand of Speaker Ralston, who has been a leader of the House and in the General Assembly for over a decade now. And I just want to welcome him to the podium because, like I said, you can't do these things without a good supporting cast, and Speaker Ralston has always been that, not just in the General Assembly, but to the administration as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Jones. And let me just say I look forward to working with you when you are across the hall in the Lieutenant Governor's office. Let me start by saying it is a great day to live in the greatest state in the greatest nation on earth. That's right. Today we're going to do what we do best, and that is to talk about the future of our state, its economy, and our people. For 2 decades, Republicans have led this state. We have championed ideals dear to each of us, to our families, and to our communities. In the intervening years, we've seen our state become the best state in the nation for business, a leader in economic opportunity and job creation. We've seen corporate relocations and expansions like Kia, State Farm, Norfolk Southern, Rivian, and Hyundai, to name just a few. We've also cut taxes on Georgians. Not once, not twice, but just this year for the third time. We've streamlined adoption, provided better medical care for new mothers, and instituted the state's first paid parental leave policy. And here, just a few months ago, we took a huge first step toward reforming and improving mental health service delivery in every community across this great state. So folks, that doesn't happen by accident. It didn't happen because we waited on the federal government to solve our problems. It didn't happen because we studied opinion polls or asked focus groups. We were able to do these things because we have a strong, unified, and determined leadership team that cares about each and every Georgian, not just those who vote for us. It all happened because we worked together to do the right thing, to do what was best for this state and our people. So it is on that note that I want to invite a dear friend to the podium. He and his wife and their family have served our state as First Family for 4 years now and have done an amazing job. He has led through a perilous time of uncertainty when a pandemic threatened lives and livelihoods. While I've known him for decades, over the last 4 years, I've come to know and appreciate that he is driven by a singular desire to do what is right for this state, to keep our state open, not just for business, but for opportunity for each and every Georgian. He cares about families here in Atlanta and in every community from the Blue Ridge Mountains, where I live, to the shores of our Golden Isles. Throughout it all, he has weathered unfair and unwarranted attacks from political enemies. Lesser men might have backed down. He did not. He hunkered down. He kept right on chopping. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man that come January will begin his second term as governor of Georgia, my friend and yours, Brian Kemp.
Told the speaker I like that hunker down line. Hunker down and keep chopping. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me just thank you guys for being with us today, and certainly our great First Lady Marty Kemp and our middle daughter Lucy, who are here. Appreciate you being here, and we appreciate the folks that are standing behind us today, including Speaker Ralston. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the recap on just a few of the many things that we have all worked on together, and these folks standing behind me that have continued to move our state forward. And I will say address a lot of issues over three and a half years ago that we started working on things like mental health and school safety. I also want to thank our soon-to-be Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones for being with us today, as well as our soon-to-be Agriculture Commissioner Senator Tyler Harper. They're both great guys that I've had opportunity to serve with, and I appreciate their leadership in this building, helping to push the agenda that the Speaker was talking about, and I'm honored to be serving on the statewide ticket with them. I also want to thank a great majority leader, Mike Dugan. Mike and I were just in West Georgia and Carrollton at the Technical College campus for an incredible event of some really good work that the leader and these guys behind me have been working on, the rest of the members of the General Assembly. I also want to thank Representative Robert Dickey and Representative Clay Perkle for being with us today, as well as Senator Chuck Payne. These individuals represent all parts of the state, those like the Speaker was talking about, from the mountains to the coast, and I'm honored to have them with us today. I also want to thank my fellow Georgians who are out there for being so resilient in these tough times. As I said in my economic speech nearly 2 weeks ago, there's no doubt that Georgians have been through some challenging times over the last couple of years. In addition to a once-in-a-lifetime global pandemic that uprooted lives and endangered livelihoods, today hard-working Georgians are faced with a Democratic-controlled Washington, D.C. that is hell-bent on driving 40-year high inflation even higher and doing everything that they can to make your life harder. The pain that Georgians are feeling at the pump and at the grocery store is a direct result of these tax and spend policies pushed by Joe Biden and Stacey Abrams, and unfortunately, their dangerous actions haven't stopped there. In just the last few days, Democrats in D.C., with the support of Stacey Abrams and the Democratic ticket here in Georgia, voted to raise taxes, spend hundreds of billions more of your hard-earned tax dollars, and oh, by the way, they're hiring 87,000 new IRS agents to come after middle America when they won't even hire a few hundred more to help go secure our southern border. It is absolutely insane, but it's the agenda that Stacey Abrams supports, and she wants to bring it to this state. In fact, earlier this week, Abrams doubled down on her big spending spree, committing billions in new spending with no plan to pay for it. Folks, that means she's going to spend a lot of your money and raise your taxes to pay for it. My message is clear: not on our watch. While we can't fix everything in Washington, D.C., my office, alongside the members of the General Assembly, have made the tough choices, budgeted conservatively, and taken swift action to help Georgians fight through Joe Biden's inflation. During the pandemic, as the speaker mentioned, while the national media attacked us and the people in both parties criticized us, we stood firm and said no to the grandstanding as well as the pandemic politics. Here in Georgia, we listened to the business owners, the hairstylists, the waitresses, and the construction workers who just wanted to be able to go to work and put food on the table for themselves and their families. A lot of politicians, academics, and media elites out there said, follow the science. Well, we did. And because we reopened first and strengthened our pro-job, pro-family policies, even when times were tough, the state now has a record budget surplus. But I believe that isn't the government's money, it's yours. And our job isn't to spend it all just because we can. You elected us to fulfill the essential duties of government and return the rest to the taxpayers, because you know what is best to provide for you and your family, not the government. As I've said before, our mission is to leave no stone unturned to help Georgians during these uncertain economic times. That's why today I'm announcing, with your support on November the 8th, that my amended budget in 2023 will recommend two major inflation relief proposals that put more of your money back in your pocket. First, my office will forward nearly a $1 billion income tax rebate to the General Assembly early next year. $250 for a single filer, $375 for a joint couple filing, or for a married couple filing jointly. $375 for a single filer who is head of household, and $500 for a married couple filing jointly. This will put real money back in the pockets of hardworking Georgians. This builds on the previous rebate that the General Assembly passed and that I signed into law earlier this year. And second, as home prices skyrocket across the country, local property tax bills here in Georgia are hitting homeowners especially hard. For families struggling to make ends meet, I know that higher bills in the mail can force cutting back on other household necessities. For young Georgians just getting settled into their first home, or parents who are sending their kids off to college, unforeseen jumps in property values and local tax bills over the last year only add to the uncertain times that we are in. That is why I will be proposing an additional $1 billion to fund the Georgia homeowners rebate for an average savings of $500 for every homeowner. Pending the General Assembly's approval and my signature on next year's budget, approximately $1 billion will be sent back to taxpayers. This Georgia homeowner rebate will save an average homeowner between 15% and 25% on their local property tax bill next year. We all know that Washington, D.C. is broken, Instead of fighting inflation, they decided to spend billions and more government money. Instead of keeping your taxes low, they passed legislation that would come after more money in your wallet. Instead of supporting American energy independence, they want to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. Instead of growing our economy, they attack job creators and small businesses every chance that they get. Washington, D.C. is broken because Democrats aren't listening to hard-working Georgians. The Democrats in control keep listening to their left-wing donors, online activists, and primetime hosts on MSNBC. And that's the dangerous agenda they're pushing in the halls of Congress. And it has a name on the ballot here in Georgia. Stacey Abrams campaigned for Joe Biden, auditioned to be his vice president, celebrated his victory, and took credit for his win. Since then, Abrams has backed his administration and his policies at every single turn and promised to do more of the same in the Peach State if she were elected governor. Abrams plans to spend more, tax more, and regulate more, all while driving inflation higher and putting countless livelihoods at risk, just like her pal in the White House. There's no doubt that we are in a fight for the soul of our state. But we're also in a fight, as the Speaker said, for our future, your family budget, your livelihood, and your way of life. Like I've done each and every day since I put my hand on the Bible that Marty Kemp was holding, I'm going to keep putting you first. This team will not take our foot off the gas because this election is too important, and we look forward to keeping Georgia the best place to live, work, and raise our families. So thank you all, and God bless. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. All right. Yep. Well, look, this is just another Stacey Abrams flip-flop, and this is something that Georgia voters need to realize. I mean, she's changing her positions on all these issues. When you think about the two largest single economic development projects we've ever done in the history of the state, with the recent Hyundai announcement and Rivian before that, the Democrats praised those projects. They're now passing legislation that's probably going to hurt EV vehicle sales. And now Stacey Abrams is criticizing the incentive package on those projects. Well, Georgians need to realize about half of that incentive package is coming from local governments that those communities and their elected leaders are supporting. The other half comes from state government, and a big portion of that is tax credits that are only earned, I might add, when that high-paying job that we recruited to get here in rural parts of our state to give our families and future families in Georgia great opportunities in rural parts of our community. It only happens, that tax credit does, when you create that job. They haven't gotten that money yet. They're not going to get that money until they build that plant and hire that worker. But even more outrageous than that is she voted in the General Assembly to support those very tax credits that she's now criticizing. You know, in politics, you can't have it both ways. You got to stand up for what you believe. I ran in 2018 on strengthening rural Georgia. This man right here, the Speaker of the House and the House Rural Development Council, and the Senate members standing behind me, focusing on technology and supporting what the House was doing, we have been focused on rural Georgia for well over 3.5 years, long before even I was governor, and we are continuing to do that. And as I said yesterday, politicians will lie, but numbers do not. And the numbers that we announced for a record year yesterday, 2 record years in a row, you just go look at the projects that we have done in rural parts of our state. 2 record years in a row. Over 75% of the projects and over half the jobs that were created are in rural Georgia. And if you look at the dots on the map where those projects are, It is all over this state, giving people opportunities no matter their zip code. Not to mention what we've been doing with the support of the General Assembly on rural broadband, even before the pandemic started. So we know we have challenges there, but we have been working on solutions like the workforce. This year's budget that we passed, that is being implemented right now, has 1,300 slots for additional rural health care providers, 136 residency slots for physicians, 500 for nursing, and the rest are allied health, because we know that's an issue. And so while other people are talking about all these things and what they may do, we have actually done these, and we want to continue to do more. Well, it wasn't a gimmick when we did the rebate last year. We did it in the amended budget, and the reason we were able to do it is because the members of the General Assembly and my office, Office of Planning and Budget, and the Appropriations Chairman and a lot of other people, we sat down during the middle of the pandemic and we tightened our belt, but we also kept our economy going. And the main person criticizing me here in our state when we reopened, I'll remind you, was Stacey Abrams. But because we weren't listening to her or the healthcare pundits or the national news, we opened our state because we were listening to hardworking Georgians. And because of that, we had excess revenue. So what we did was we fully fund budgets on our priorities, whether it's education, public safety, healthcare, and a number of other things. And then we decided, the policymakers in this building decided to send that money back to our citizens. And most of them have already gotten that money, and it's helping them fight through the Abrams-Biden inflation that is at a 40-year high. We want to do that again. We want to give you, the citizens, your money back, because it's going to be more than we just need to spend on wasteful projects. This is one-time money. If you build new government programs with one-time money, it's not going to be there the next year. And she's not going to be able to pay for all the plans that she is putting out there without raising your taxes. And that is a fact. Well, listen, I am focused right now on helping Georgians fight through the Abrams-Biden 40-year high inflation that we have right now. That is the sole thing that I'm focused on between now and November 8th. And if we are successful, you will have a team that's with me today and others that are not, that will make these things become a reality. And this money will be going back into your pocket because we trust you more than the government on how you should be spending your money. This will help our citizens move forward. It'll help our job creators and small business owners, just like suspending the gas tax that we have had the support of the General Assembly to do. We're lowering the burden on them to help them survive these tough times, because we have great days ahead in our state, because we've been open, because we're creating jobs, and we have good opportunity. So my focus is on that. I wouldn't want to speculate on years down the road, but again, this is one-time money. So I don't want to give any illusions that we're doing something for the next decade. We're trying to help Georgians fight through this tough time now. Yeah, we have to take legislative action, which is why you have the legislators here. We are not running the Lone Ranger on this one, just like we didn't on all the good work that we did last year, just like we didn't during the pandemic when the General Assembly gave Dr. Toomey and I broad powers with the public health state of emergency that allowed us to be able to keep our state open and keep our job seekers and job creators working in this great state. So we have been talking to the legislative leadership. I felt like it was important for them to be here today. This is something their members support. I mean, look, these guys standing behind me, Chairman Lynn Smith and a lot of other folks that I saw today, they're hearing just like I am. Hey, I'm getting my property tax assessment in the mail. It's going up because property values are going up. It's going to be a one-time hard hit for people to get used to this, and with 40-year high inflation. So we're trying to help people fight through that. But this would be something that we're proposing in the amended budget, which, you know, I'm hopeful that we can get agreement and get that passed quickly, get it signed quickly. As soon as it goes into place, then, you know, that will be in the pipeline. I think the other good thing is our Department of Revenue has been working on these issues already. So they have a great team, just like we did with the tax rebates. They'll be able to continue to gear up and be ready to do whatever's necessary to make this work smoothly for our citizens. Well, look, that's something that we're going to have to continue to talk to the legislative leadership about. As you know, we've been suspending the gas tax. That's costing us, you know, roughly $170, $180 million a month. There'll be other things that the General Assembly is going to weigh in on. There's other things that we're looking at, and that's what this campaign is going to continue to be about. A lot of great ideas that are going to be coming out from a great team that's been together for almost 20 years now, that has really taken our state to new heights. And we plan on keeping it that way with your support. So thank you for being here.
You want to ride with me?
I'll probably got there.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave 5:30.
Oh, right.
I got a Zoom call.
Where you at? Campaign.
You still have phone again?